I think I'm forever changed. I'm just kidding. Obviously, last night I got to see Terrifier 3 in the cinema, and I've been waiting for this for a long time, so in today's video I'm going to be sharing my thoughts. I have a lot of them. Let's go. So, like I said, today is finally the day I have seen the third Terrifier movie, Damien Leones' Terrifier 3, and my word, what an experience. A buddy of mine who hadn't seen any of the Terrifier movies the morning of the 11th of October. After mentioning that I was a Terrifier fan, he went home, watched the double bill, ready for the evening's viewing. So, my thoughts on the movie itself. The opening scene. I should probably point out before we get too far that there will be spoilers for the movie, like big ones. I'm going to spoil everything. So if you haven't seen it yet and you don't want anything spoiled, turn this off now. If you don't care, let's go. The opening scene really sets the scene for the movie. This was the one I had heard people had been walking out within the first 10 minutes. And to be honest, I kind of understand why. I feel like 5 years ago, this scene wouldn't have bothered me in the slightest. However, being a parent, this scene hits different. So, it's a Christmas movie. It's Christmas Eve. We have a young girl. I don't think we know her name. We probably do, actually. It's not stuck with me. It doesn't matter. We have a young girl who walks into her parents' bedroom and says that she can hear footsteps on the roof. Pretty standard. Santa Claus is here. It's Christmas Eve. Shut up, little girl. Go back to bed. So the girl goes back to sleep, hears more footsteps, heads downstairs, and sees no one else, sees none other than Santa Claus from behind. Santa places down his sack and rummages through it and pulls out an axe. Cool. Very Santa Clausy. We as an audience obviously know that this isn't Santa Claus. The girl thinks it is. She runs back upstairs to get her brother. Runs in his bedroom and she's like, I forgot his name too. Jimmy, Santa's downstairs. Come and see, he's putting our presents out. And Jimmy says, oh, come on. Go back to bed. Shut up. Leave me alone. I'm sleeping. So she heads back downstairs. Santa walks straight past her. And he heads into Jimmy's room. The character's not called Jimmy, by the way. Just for the story. Jimmy says, stop annoying me. I told you to leave me alone. Or something like that. Mid-sentence, we just hear stab. Swing stab. The sound of Santa's axe being buried into little Jimmy. Now, despite the fact this isn't shown, it's only the audio that we get to experience, it's still a pretty traumatic, terrifying scene because the camera sort of stays on the young girl's face as she hears these noises. And we obviously know exactly what's going on, and it's pretty sickening. Santa then walks out of the little boy's room and into the parents' room. And Santa just straight up starts swinging on the dad with his axe. It sounds brutal, it's visceral, it's gory. And the mother turns around, kind of half asleep, and says, what are you doing? What's going on? And I'll use this to demonstrate. There's a close-up on the husband's face, like this, as an axe just goes wha-blam, and the camera stays on it as the axe continues to bury itself into the skull. And it is brutal. Fantastically brutal. Special effects on these movies are exactly why we go to see them, let's be honest. And they did not disappoint right from the get-go. But this is where it gets real sick. The mother obviously screams. She's terrified, traumatized, and she runs to try and save her children. She runs into the young boy's room, little Jimmy, and that's when they show us, as the audience, the carnage that art created. And it is savage. It's just body parts of a small child. At this point in the screening, I'm pretty sure, or not long after this, people started walking out. Fair enough. As we bought tickets to the screening, we actually were informed that someone had passed out in a showing earlier that day. So whether it was this scene or not, whether it was the shower scene that comes later, I don't know. But yeah, boy was it brutal. Boy was it hard to watch. And again, as a father of a small boy, it really, I think, treads the line of what is acceptable to be released. And I think Damien Leones has talked about this multiple times in interviews and podcasts and things like that there is a line, and they're trying to get as close to it as they physically can. They want to be able to be entertaining and acceptable, but if there's a line that they do go over, the problem is they don't know where that line is, then this film is not going to get shown. No one's going to go and see it. Everyone's going to think he is sick and disgusted, which I'm sure a lot of people already do. But yeah, this I feel was the closest they've come. There was the sawing scene in Terrifier 1. There was the skinning and salt acid scene in Terrifier 2. That was pretty brutal. But this, even without showing too much of the gore, just the situation was pretty rough. I only wanted to go into such detail of that scene because it was the scene that hit me the hardest. There was more gory scenes for sure, but that was the roughest one for me. In the rest of this review, I'm not going to go into as much detail in the scenes, but we'll kind of cover the vibe, the story, the big incidents, and the humour. Touching on that, that's a very good point to move on to, and it's the humour of this movie. In my opinion, Terrifier 3 was the funniest of the trilogy. I don't think I have laughed so much in the cinema as I have during this film. Maybe since like the first Hangover. This was a really funny film. And if it wasn't for that humour, it would be a hard watch. The gore and the terrifying moments are really broken up with the comedy of art. He has these things, there's this way about him where he can just make you laugh no matter what is going down. Whether it's the most disgusting things imaginable, which it is. It genuinely was funny. I'll give you a prime example. Walking past a bar at one point in the movie, about halfway through, he spots, for lack of a better term, a mall Santa who's at the bar having a drink dressed as Santa Claus. We obviously, as an audience, feel extremely on edge, and you could sense it in the cinema. There was a group nervous laughter. Art does a shot with Santa Claus, and you can almost like this childlike persona that he has. He turns and spits the shot into Santa's face. And while Santa doesn't find it funny, us as an audience are like, what's he gonna do? It's terrifying. Well, hey. Despite the fact it was very funny, I don't think the comedy took away from the horror element, because it is still a scary movie. It's not like a jump scare movie. It's scary in the fear of what the character might do. And also the deformed woman demon character that's, with Art and on his side or whatever, or maybe even control of him. She's quite terrifying. And while very different to a classical horror movie, it's different to a classical slasher movie, it's different to a classical gore movie. It kind of has elements of all, and even comedy, and combines them in such a unique way that it's why it's gathered the cult following that it has, and why it's doing so well. On that note, I can't remember the last time I was in a next to sold out screen in the cinema. There was maybe less than 10 empty seats. There were more than that by halfway through, but it was great to see such a full screen. You compare it to the Joker 2, which is obviously another very, very famous clown in the cinema right now. The screen has been a lot busier, put it that way. Okay, let's talk about the story itself. Obviously, Terrifier 2, it brought up so many questions. All of us had tons of questions. It went from being a classic gore slasher movie with maybe hints and elements of some kind of supernatural theme, just like, Friday the 13th does that, they all do. Michael Myers seems pretty immortal. Jason Voorhees seems pretty immortal. Even seems like he can teleport sometimes. Freddy, he's immortal, lives in your nightmares kind of character. All these typical slasher characters tend to have some kind of supernatural, mystical element about them. Terrifier 2 took it to the next level. Not only did it become apparent that Art is more than likely some kind of demon, but also, and this is a very unique twist, our final girl, Sienna Shaw, also develops some kind of superpower, and it's very much angels versus demons, which is incredible. I don't think anyone saw that coming going into Terrifier 2, and it's worked fantastically. They expanded on this a lot more in this third film, and we got some really cool hints of what's to come. We see what looks like some kind of demon being controlled by some kind of twisted angel nun character. crafting what seems to be armor for Sienna. We don't get to see it worn and used in this film, but judging by what happens at the end of the movie, which is one of the characters being taken into what seems like the ninth circle, hell, I think we're going to get Sienna going into hell trying to save her cousin, niece, whatever she is. And I think this could lead to an epic conclusion. I'm genuinely really, really excited. So the answers that we had from our Terrifier 2 questions, I don't think there were too many answers. I think maybe they expanded the lore slightly. Didn't necessarily give us more questions, but didn't really give us answers. I think it's more of like here's a bit more. You'll have a few more hints. Yes, it's demons. Yes, it's angels. But we don't know why. We don't really know why Sienna has this. They explain kind of that there needs to be balance. If there's an evil entity as evil as the demon that is Art and the disfigured woman, I don't know her name, then there has to be some sort of good counterpart to balance it out. So we do get answers, but they're not fully explaining the world and the lore. And as a lore nerd, I want more. You just look at this channel. I would love to delve more into the lore of this fantastic franchise, these fantastic characters. I want to know more about Sienna. We get a little bit of flashbacks with her dad and some kind of weird stuff about him going into hell, and we get more. We do get more. We just don't get enough. What we did get, though, I thoroughly enjoyed. So I'm going to kind of try and round this up now. I'm going to summarize each key part of the movie. Story. We've just touched on all that. They give us enough to keep us interested, but they don't answer all the questions. And I think that's important. The story itself was, pretty basic. Art returns. He kind of is seeking revenge on Sienna. He does some stuff in the meantime, causes some chaos, kills some people. We spend a lot of time watching those kills, and we lead on to a definite open ending for the 4th installment. Absolutely works for me, does its job. I was happy, 10 out of 10 story. Let's talk about performances. Now, classically in these sort of lower budget horror movies, you don't get the most high-end actors involved. I feel like that may be changing. People tend to like to go towards horror a lot more these days, but for these sort of films, we don't get too many. Chris Jericho is a character in it, for example. Pretty cool, but the biggest name in it, but not a high-level actor, However, having said that, about halfway through the movie, I said to myself, all the performances in this have been absolutely flawless. Like, there hasn't been any where I've really cringed at the acting or the dialogue delivery or anything like that. It was all really, really good. Genuinely just believed it all. I forget the name of the lady that plays Sienna, but she is brilliant and also just the best final girl ever. Yeah, she's great. Huge fan of her. So well done. I should really know her name. Apologies. I'll try and maybe put it on screen if I remember. But yeah, she was great. Jonathan, I've met that actor at a convention. Lovely kid. Good actor. Plays his part really well. And David Thornton Howard, which way around. He is the most gifted physical actor when it comes to performing this sort of mime horror clown. He's fantastic. He's terrifying and he's funny all at the same time. So massive round of applause. The gore, the special effects, you know what you are getting into. You know what to expect. You know that Damien Leones' passion is makeup and special effects, and there's not many out there that are much better. He is like the modern horror classic makeup special effects guy to me. He is absolutely nailing it. And the fact that this movie had such a bigger budget and he had a bigger team, I think meant that he could probably spend more time directing than being so hands-on with the makeup. I'm sure he still did his fair share, or at least advised and directed on how to do it. But yeah, props to all the team that were involved. I don't know everyone's name, but yeah, makeup artists, special effects supervisors, all that sort of stuff, practical guys on set, great job. Very, very believable. Comedy element, obviously I covered that earlier. It was hysterical, 10 out of 10. Gore, 10 out of 10. Performances, 10 out of 10. Story, 10 out of 10. Was there anything I was unhappy with? Yes, there was. There were a few character decisions. And again, this is just a horror thing. You can never have your lead characters in horror movies not making dumb decisions. Because at the end of the day, more often than not, most of these scenarios people find themselves in horror movies are quite easy to get out of. You're always going to get something like that. It's not a complaint. I'm just really digging to try and find something that bugged me about this movie. Because overall, man, I loved it. It was absolutely incredible. Ooh, the music! I need to touch on the music. Terrifier 2 had a fantastic soundtrack, and looking at the Ice Nine Kills single that was released, it was incredible. And I'm a huge metal fan, so hearing that there was a metal band involved in Terrifier and the soundtrack got me really hyped. It had a crazy music video to go with it, featuring art. Check it out. And I thought, oh, maybe even though they had this kind of like mellow 80s techno kind of vibe in the other films, maybe they'll go more metal in this film, and that'll be the unique sound of the music in this. No, it was more of the same, which I was absolutely fine with because it just works. It works really, really well. I don't know why it works. It just does. But yeah, the music, once again, was fantastic. Overall, guys, if you're a horror fan, you're gonna like this movie. I was a little bit nervous seeing it in the cinema, whether I'd have to turn away, but my eyes did not leave the screen the entire time, and it was just brilliant. Yes, people did leave. Some people don't have strong stomachs. Some people don't like seeing, kids being axed up and stuff. It is rough, but at the end of the day, it's a movie and it's a practical horror special effects showcase that just so happens to have one of the coolest horror characters of all time. And on that note, Michael Myers has always been my favorite horror character by a long way. But so far, with 3 brilliant horror movies, Art might be taking over. He might be my favorite horror character ever. And that's saying something. Overall, guys, it's a 10 out of 10 for me. I had a great time. I can't wait to see it again. I'm going to order myself some Art the Clown merch. I need a hoodie. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought of the movie. Obviously, I've been really looking forward to doing new content on this channel. It's been a while. We've had a crazy few months, moving office, opening a shop, having a baby. It's just been mental. So getting stuff out on here has been tough, but it's Halloween season. You're going to see more of me over the next few weeks. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you like what you see here. Thank you all for watching. Have a great day. And remember, stay scared. Dead scared.